and welcome back to my channel. My name is Hannah from Hannah's Gizmos, and today I'm going to show you how to make this Shrek. I made this pattern. I think he turned out so cute, and I am so excited to share with you all. If you like him and you want me to show you more, I also made Fiona and Donkey. If you want those patterns, like this video, subscribe to my channel, and leave me a comment below telling me you love it. Once you're finished making them, don't forget to tag me on Instagram or TikTok at Hannah's Gizmos. I can't wait to see all your creations. Let's get into it. We're going to start with the head. The head is made of 21 rounds. We're going to start by making a magic circle and crochet 8 single crochets into the magic circle. Or if you're like me, I prefer the chain 2 method, so I'm going to do a slip knot, chain 2, and then do 8 single crochets into the second chain from the hook. When working with this yarn, a magic ring is very difficult, so this is the method I prefer, but use whichever one is best for you. Starting round 2, we're going to increase all the way around, so you'll do an increase in all 8 stitches, so you should end up with 16 stitches at the end of this round. Round 3, we're going to single crochet and then increase around 8 times, which will end up with 24 stitches at the end of round 3. Round 4 is going to be 2 single crochets and then an increase 8 times so that your round ends with 32 stitches. For round 5, you're going to single crochet around the entire round, so 32 stitches of 32 single crochets. For round 6, you're going to do 3 single crochets and then an increase 8 times, which will leave you with 40 stitches at the end of the round. For round 7 and 8, you're going to do 40 single crochets around, so single crochet 40 stitches around for 2 rounds. Here I'm placing my stitch marker so I don't have to count that, and then I will crochet around twice with 40 single crochets. Round 9, you're going to do 4 single crochets and then an increase 8 times, leaving you with 48 stitches at the end of the round. For round 10 and 11, you're going to single crochet around the entire round, so do 2 rounds of 48 single crochets. For round 12, you're going to do 5 single crochets and then an increase 8 times, leaving you with 56 stitches at the end of the round. Next, for round 13, round 14, and round 15, you're going to single crochet around. So you'll do 56 single crochets around 3 rounds. So once again, I'm moving my stitch marker up so that I don't have to count that out, and we'll just single crochet until we get back to our stitch marker and have completed 3 rounds. Now we're going to place our eyes. I've slowed the video down for this so you can get a good look. The eyes are going to go in between rounds 11 and 12. So I'm starting by counting up and finding round 11, 12 from the bottom and inserting the first eye. To insert the second eye, you're going to want 9 visible stitches between. Here's a picture of what that looks like if you need some help. Otherwise, count your stitches over. It usually ends up being about 10 stitches over because one stitch gets hidden behind these eyes that I use. So just place the eye in, and then here I'm double checking and counting and seeing if I have 9 stitches between my eyes, which I do. So then I'll just put the back on the second eye, and then we are going to continue crocheting around. Now we're going to continue with round 16, which is going to be 5 single crochets and then a decrease 8 times, leaving you with 48 crochets stitches at the end of the round. For the rest of these rounds, we're going to start decreasing, which is going to start making our head smaller. I like to use invisible decreases, so I've explained how that works here so you can see. Round 17, you're going to do 4 single crochets and then a decrease 8 times, leaving you with 40 stitches at the end of the round. Round 18 is 3 single crochets and then a decrease 8 times, leaving you with 32 stitches at the end of the round. Round 19 is single crochet decrease 8 times, leaving you with 16 stitches. Now we're going to stop and stuff the head before we complete the last round. I'm just stuffing the head here. I like to leave mine a little bit squishy. I don't like them to be super dense. Make sure I'm removing my stitch marker. Now for the last round, we're going to decrease in all 8 stitches around. So you should have 8 decreases, which will then leave you with 8 stitches at the end of the round. Once again, I'm using invisible decreases, which you can see me doing here. And now we're just gonna cut that yarn and finish off. I pulled the yarn through the last stitch, and then to sew it closed, I'm just going to weave that yarn back and forth between all 8 stitches, pull it closed, and then I'll do a slip knot into one of the stitches next to it to secure and fasten that yarn. So here I've pulled it tight, and then I just inserted my hook into a stitch next to the closing ring and slip stitched to secure it. And now I'm just going to hide the tail into the head by just inserting my hook into the head and pulling that tail in. And now we're done with the base of the head. Now using some of your green yarn, we are going to add the nose. How I like to do it is I always just happen to go with the right eyeball. Count 3 stitches out, insert my hook into his head, which you can see me doing here. Actually, I have some stuffing coming out, so I'm trying to make sure the stuffing stays in. But then I will put my hook. So I go 1, 2, 3. Then I insert my hook. Then I count 3 more stitches over. 1, 2, 3. And I'm going to pull my hook out right there after that 3rd stitch. Now we're going to grab our yarn and pull it through those 3 stitches. Trying not to pull stuffing out with it. If you pull the stuffing out, you can always try again or push the stuffing back in. Now I'm just going to double layer this up. So we're going to repeat the same thing. I'm going to put my stitch or my hook back into that same first stitch, pull it up 3 stitches over, pull the yarn through, and then I'm going to bring that tail across and I'm going to tie it over there so it will double layer the nose to kind of give it a little bit more definition so it stands out a little better. So we'll tie it off, cut the yarn, and then we will pull the ends back into the head to hide them. And then if any stuffing is sticking out, you can just use your hook to push it back in. When you're done, this is what the nose should look like. It's kind of subtle, but it does make a difference having a nose versus not having a nose. Now we're going to make the ears. You're going to repeat this same step 2 times. So you're going to make a chain of 6, and then you're going to slip stitch into the first chain to connect it and make it a circle. So basically we're going to make like a hollow circle here, so we don't want a magic ring, we want a chain 6, and then you're going to slip stitch into the first chain to connect it and make a circle. Next, you're going to single crochet around for 3 rounds, so 6 single crochets around for 3 entire rounds. After that, you're going to work in the front loop only and increase 6 times. So instead of grabbing both loops, grab only the front loop. The front loop is the one towards the inside of the circle. And you're going to increase in all 6 front loop only stitches 6 times, which will then leave you with 12 stitches. To finish it off, just slip stitch into the first stitch and then you can cut your yarn. And remember, you need to make 2 ears. I'm not going to show that here, so go back and repeat that step again to make the second ear. This is what it should look like at the end. We'll hide these tails once we sew it on, but it's basically hollow in the center and should look like an ogre ear. Here we're going to attach the ears. I like using knitting needles to help hold them in place while I sew. So I'm basically taking the knitting needles and shoving it through the hollow center of the ears, and then I'm going to put that in the place that I want. So starting, I find the center, and then I go and count down to round 6 and 7, and I place my knitting needle into the head. So trying to make sure that I'm centered here between the circle, counting down to round 6 and 7, and placing the knitting needle straight into the middle of that round, and just double checking that it looks good. You can adjust as necessary if you want to fix any placements or it looks a little bit off. I like to use a thin yarn to sew. This Chanel yarn is very difficult to work with sewing. I find it just frays and I can't even get it into a needle. So I just found this yarn, this yarn at Walmart, and it basically gets hidden in between the plush yarn as you go. So I'm just going to use this and my embroidery needle, and I'm going to sew the ear on, and just going around in a circle, going through the ear and then through the head. We're just going to sew this on, and then I will pull the string tight, sew it in a knot, and then hide the ends into the head. And I know it looks kind of crazy using black yarn with this green, but once you pull it tight, you don't even see the black yarn at all. So this has been a game changer for me with trying to sew pieces onto using plush yarn. I just don't like to waste any yarn, so here I am just pulling it back through so that my tail isn't super long, which this is totally unnecessary and just something that I convinced myself I should do. Even though it probably doesn't waste that much yarn, save where you can. So we're just going to tie it off, pull it tight, tie it off, cut it, and then we're going to tuck the ends into the head. So we'll tuck the black yarn into the head, and then the two ends of the ear. So for the bottom tail yarn of the ear, we'll just pull it straight through the bottom stitch of the head, closest to where that is. For the top one, I like to pull it into the center of the ear and then hide it into the head first. So for this top one, I'm going to pull it through the center of the ear towards the bottom, and then at the base, I'm going to then hide the tail into the head. And you're going to repeat that same step, but with the second ear. And this is what it should look like at the end. You'll have your head with the nose and the ears all attached. Now we're going to start the body. The body starts at the feet. So we are going to make 2 legs. So you're going to start by making 1 leg in dark brown, chaining 2, and then 5 single crochets into the second chain from the hook, or magic ring 5 if that's what you prefer. So repeat these steps for the second leg too, except do not cut the yarn at the end of the second leg. Now you're going to increase in all 5 stitches, so 5 increases, leaving you with 10 stitches. Now you're going to do 2 rounds of 10 single crochets, so single crochet 10 around for 2 rounds, leaving you with 10 stitches still. And now we're going to change our color to tan. You can change the colors in the stitch ahead if that's what you prefer, but it doesn't make a difference here, so I am not changing in the stitch ahead, and I'm going to do 10 single crochets around in tan. Then we're going to finish off, so then you can cut your yarn and finish off this first foot. And then you will go back and repeat those same steps for the second foot, except do not cut the yarn. Since we changed colors, I'm going to tie the ends together where we changed colors. So where the dark brown ended and where the tan began, we have two tails. So to make sure this doesn't unravel, I'm just tying them in a knot here to make sure they're nice and secure. Now that we have two legs, we're going to take our second leg and chain two, and then we're going to single crochet into the first leg to attach them both. So we have two chains, and then we're going to insert our hook into the first stitch of the first leg and pull the yarn through and do a single crochet. This single crochet is going to be the first stitch of the next round. So we're going to continue around and we're going to crochet 10 all the way around, remembering that the first stitch was that first single crochet we did to attach the legs. So you're doing to actually do 9 since we already did one. Then you're going to single crochet 2 into the chain 2 space that we made. So a single crochet in both of the chains that we made in between the legs. Then you'll single crochet 10 around the second leg, and then 2 more single crochets into the chain 2. This will leave you with 24 stitches. So each leg has 10 stitches around, so you're going to do 10 around each leg and then 2 on both sides of the chain 2. Now we're going to do 3 single crochets and an increase 6 times, leaving you with 30 stitches at the end of this round. Now do 4 single crochets and then an increase 6 times to end up with 36 stitches. I'm going to grab my stitch marker and place it in because we're going to do 36 single crochets around for 2 rounds. So 2 whole rounds of 36 single crochets. We're going to color change again. You can use cream or white. I prefer to use cream. So I'm grabbing, this is Parfait Chunky in color cream, and we're going to do 36 single crochets around again. This round we're going to be working in the back loop only, and we're going to single crochet 36 around in the back loop only. We're going to color change again. This is going to be the only round that we use dark brown in, and then we're going to change back to cream. So we're going to do 4 single crochets and then a decrease 6 times using dark brown. This is going to create the belt look of his shirt, and then we're going to be switching back to using cream again. So change your color back to cream or white if that's what you prefer, and we're going to go and do 30 single crochets around. This is the only round that we're going to have as the dark brown as the round before, so you can cut that yarn off and get it out of the way. And then I'm going to tie the ends together of both the first and the last stitch of that brown yarn to secure that. Continuing on, we're going to do 8 single crochets and then a decrease 3 times, which will leave us with 27 stitches. Now we're doing 7 single crochets and then a decrease 3 times, which will leave us with 24 stitches. The next round will be 4 single crochets and then a decrease 4 times, leaving you with 20 stitches. Now we're going to do 3 single crochets and then a decrease 4 times, leaving us with 16 stitches. And now you've completed the main part of the body, so you can cut your yarn off and finish. One last detail we have to do is we're going to go back to that front loop only round, and we're going to grab our cream colored yarn, and we are going to do 2 rounds of 36 single crochets attaching to that back loop only round. This is just going to make some of the detail at the end of his shirt as if it's kind of going over his pants. If you've never done this technique before where you pick up the back loop only round, you will know that it's the back loop only round because, as you can kind of see in the video, there is some horizontal lines going around your work. Those are the back loop only stitches. You shouldn't have to force it in. They should be very easy to pick up. So if you're trying to force your hook into some stitches, that's not the right stitch. So we ran around and did that twice, and now we can cut our yarn off, finish off, and then I like to tie the ends together, and then we will grab those ends and pull them into the body. Now we're going to create the arms. You're going to make 2, so repeat these steps twice. You're going to chain 2 and then single crochet 4 into the second chain from the hook, or create a magic circle with 4 single crochets. Next, you're going to increase in every stitch, so complete 4 increases, leaving you with 8 stitches. For 2 rounds, 8 single crochet around. You're going to change to your cream or white colored yarn now, and then do 6 single crochets and 1 decrease, which will leave you with 7 stitches at the end of the round. Here I'm flipping the arm inside out and I'm tying the end of the green and the end of the beginning of the white together to secure those and make sure it doesn't unravel. Now you're going to do 7 single crochets around. Do 5 single crochets and 1 decrease. This will leave you with 6 stitches at the end of the round. For the last round, you're going to do 6 single crochets. So 1 single crochet in every stitch around, and then you can finish off. So you can cut up your yarn, and I like to pull mine through the last stitch to finish it off. Now we're going to create the vest. The vest we're going to work in rows instead of rounds. So we're going to chain 26. Chain 1 and turn your work, and then do 26 more single crochets. Chain 1 and turn your work again. Do 3 single crochets, then chain 4, skip 4 stitches, crochet 11 single crochets, then once again chain 4, skip 4 stitches, and then 3 more single crochets to end the round. This is going to create the armholes in the vest. I kept this at normal speed here so you can see how that goes. Is you chain, then you skip stitches, and when you single crochet the rest of them, it'll leave a hole inside your work. This is where his arms are going to fit in to wear his vest.
She said that she never have anything with Joseph. Yes, she did. And then her and Clint.
To finish, you're going to chain 1 and turn, and then you're going to do 4 single crochets, single crochet 4 in the chain 4 space, 11 single crochets, 4 single crochets inside the chain 4 space, and then 4 more single crochets to finish the vest. So here you can see the chain 4 space is that hole you left for his arm. So just put your entire hook through that big hole there and then complete your single crochets as you would typically. So instead of going and doing your single crochets into the chains, go into that hole that you left where his arm is going to go.
This is the nomination ceremony. It is my responsibility as the head of household to nominate 2 house guests for eviction. In my nomination block are the keys of the house guests I am nominating for eviction. I will turn 2 keys to to lock in my nominations, and their faces will appear on the memory wall. The first house guest I have nominated is the next house guest I have nominated is I have nominated you, Chemo, and you, Angela.
Now you can
First
cut
off,
your
I wanna
yarn,
say that as a
finish
Crocheting
off,
group,
and
really, I
weave
wanna give y'all a
those
chance to compete in the
ends
veto
of the
competition
yarn
as opposed
into
to
the
their
vest to
self-imposed
secure
positions
them
for
and
me.
hide them.
And with that, this nomination ceremony is adjourned. I know Chelsea wanted me to put Leah up as a nominee, but I stuck to my plan of getting Angela out this week. I do need Leah out eventually, but right now she is a number for me, and I do believe she'll protect me next week. So I'm not going to be the one that touches her. Someone else will have to take that shot.
Sitting on the block next to Angela is terrifying. I mean, not only is she immortal in this game, she also has this power to convince people that she is not a threat. And she's won 2 HOHs and a veto herself. So I feel like I absolutely need to gun for this veto and win to take myself off the block and not have to worry about any of that.
I am on the block again, but at this point, I am no stranger to this feeling. I've been here many times before, 6 times to be exact, so you never know what could happen. I have worked too hard all season, so I am not going home now. Plus, winning back-to-back vetoes sounds pretty good to me. I understand why Mackenzie wants Angela out of the house. However, I think Leah is a bigger threat, so I need to win this veto to ensure that Leah going on the block this week is still an option.
Who will win the power of veto? And will it be used to save either Angela or Chemo from eviction? Plus, what trick does Ainsley have up her simulated sleeve? Find out Wednesday night at 9:30.
This is my 5th time.
If you have any holes left between the legs, sew them closed. It's very normal when you attach legs together crocheting this way that there will be a hole in between them. So here I'm just taking my yarn and I'm going to just sew that shut. And now you can stuff the body. We are going to sew the rest of it together, so you're almost done with them. So here I'm attaching the body and the head. I like to use my knitting needles, put it straight through the center of the head and through the center of between the legs to help get it centered. And then using 3 more knitting needles, I'm just going to secure his head in place on both sides and then one on the back so it doesn't move as I'm sewing. Then as I sew around and reach those sewing needles, I'll start taking them out one by one. Their arms are going to go directly on the side, so it should be in line with like the ears since those went directly on the side of his head. I like to crochet the bottom of the arm into his body and the top of the arm into his head. I just feel like it looks more secure and better that way, but you can sew them on however you like. Lastly, we're going to finish the vest, so we're going to just put the vest on. So those holes you made in the vest, or where his arms go, so just pull both of his arms through those holes. Then next we're going to grab your other yarn. So you should have an acrylic yarn or a cotton yarn. I personally like acrylic, so I have a tan-ish colored yarn that kind of matches his vest, and I'm just gonna use my crochet hook here to pull it through. So I like to pull it through so that the two ends of the yarn end up on the outside. So I go from the center, pull it through, and then pull it through again, and here we're gonna tie it in a bow. And now you finished him. Look at how cute he turned out. I love him. I hope you are obsessed with him just like I am. I think he turned out so stinking cute. You finished making your Shrek. He is so cute. He's one of my favorite patterns I've made. He is absolutely adorable. I hope you love him just like I do. If you have any questions, leave me a comment or send me a DM on Instagram or TikTok. I hope you love him as much as I do. Don't forget to like and subscribe to my channel. If you want more free patterns, leave me a comment below. I also made Fiona and Donkey, so if you want the whole gang, let me know. Thanks for watching.